My wife said I was paranoid. Then I discovered she had been living a completely different life behind my back. I never thought I'd be posting here. For years I was the guy reading relationship posts and wondering how people could miss the obvious signs. I always believed that if my marriage was in trouble, I'd know. If my wife was cheating, I'd see it. If something was wrong, I'd figure it out before my entire life exploded. Turns out I was completely wrong. I'm 34. My wife is 32. We've been together for almost 10 years and married for 7. Until recently, I would have described our marriage as stable. Not perfect. We argued occasionally, got annoyed with each other like every couple does, and sometimes felt stuck in routine. But I never doubted that we were a team. At least, that's what I thought. Looking back, the warning signs started long before I noticed them. The biggest change was her attitude toward me. My wife had always been blunt, but over the last year, she became downright hostile. Every conversation felt like a fight waiting to happen. If I asked where she had been after work, she'd snap that I was interrogating her. If I asked why she never answered my texts anymore, she'd accuse me of being needy. If I suggested we spend more time together, she'd roll her eyes and tell me she had a life outside our marriage. At first I blamed stress. Work had been difficult. Her company was going through changes. People were leaving. Deadlines were getting worse. That explanation made sense. Until it didn't. She started coming home later and later. Then came the lies. Small lies at first. She'd tell me she was working late, but I'd later see social media photos showing her out with coworkers. She'd claim she forgot to mention dinner plans. She'd say everything was last minute. Every excuse sounded believable enough that I ignored the uneasy feeling in my stomach. Then one Friday night, she told me she had a mandatory work meeting. She left around 6 in the evening. Midnight came and went. No response to my messages. 1 o'clock. Nothing. 2 o'clock. Still nothing. At 3:30 in the morning, she finally walked through the front door. She wasn't drunk. She wasn't tired. She looked nervous. I asked how the meeting went. She froze for half a second before saying, "Fine." Just one word. Fine. Then I noticed she was wearing a black dress I'd never seen before. Not business attire. Not something you'd wear to a company meeting. Something you'd wear on a date. When I pointed it out, she immediately became defensive and claimed there had been a company event afterward. I asked where. She said downtown. I asked which restaurant. She couldn't remember. That was the moment something changed inside me. Not because I had proof. I didn't. But because my instincts were screaming at me. Over the next week, I started noticing everything. She guarded her phone constantly. Changed passwords. Took calls outside. Smiled at messages before quickly locking her screen whenever I entered a room. When I brought any of it up, she accused me of being paranoid. Eventually, I started wondering if she was right. Then everything changed because of one stupid notification. We had an old shared iPad sitting on a shelf collecting dust. Apparently, she'd forgotten it was still connected to one of her accounts. One afternoon, a message notification appeared. I only saw part of it before it disappeared. A man's name I didn't recognize. And the words, "Can't stop thinking about last night." My entire body went cold. I opened the message thread immediately. Nothing. Gone. She had deleted it remotely before I could read more. That night, I didn't confront her. Instead, I watched. A few days later, I ran into one of her friends at a grocery store and casually mentioned an upcoming girls' trip my wife had told me about. Her friend looked confused. "What trip?" I laughed it off in the moment. Inside, I felt sick. That evening, I asked my wife about it. Instead of answering normally, she exploded. She accused me of talking behind her back, called me controlling, claimed I was trying to start arguments. Somehow, I ended up apologizing. Looking back, that's what hurts the most. Not just the affair. The way I allowed myself to be manipulated into doubting my own judgment. Then came the phone call. A number I didn't recognize appeared on my screen. When I answered, a woman asked me a question that changed my life forever. "Are you married to Sarah?" I said yes. She took a deep breath. Then she told me she believed our partners were having an affair. I thought my heart stopped. Over the next hour, she explained everything. She was dating a man she suspected was cheating. During her investigation, she discovered my wife. Then she sent me evidence. Photos, messages, screenshots, hotel receipts, timelines, proof, real proof. One photo showed my wife standing beside a man with his arm around her waist. The timestamp matched the night of the supposed work meeting. Another screenshot contained a message from him. "I hate when you have to go back home to him." My wife's reply was even worse. "One day I won't have to." I read that message over and over. 10 years together. 7 years married. And I was being discussed like an obstacle standing in the way of her happiness. The other woman eventually told me something even more devastating. The affair had likely been going on for nearly a year. An entire year. While we celebrated anniversaries. While we talked about children. While we planned vacations. While I trusted her completely. And that was only the beginning.